Tonight's episode includes a Manta Sleep affiliate link, which helps support the show at no extra cost to you. If you've ever tried sleeping with a regular sleep mask and found that light still gets in around the edges, or the mask presses against your eyes and just feels uncomfortable, Manta Sleep takes a different approach. Their masks are designed to give you a true blackout experience while keeping pressure off your eyes, so you can actually relax and forget you're wearing one. They also have several different versions depending on how you sleep, and one of the coolest is their Bluetooth audio sleep mask. It combines the blackout mask with built-in audio so you can listen to music, white noise, or even your favorite sleep stories without having earbuds in your ears all night. And for a podcast like this, that combination just makes sense. Block out the light, put on a story, and let everything else disappear for a while. If you're looking to upgrade your nighttime routine, check out Manta Sleep and find the mask that works best for you. You can find a direct link to them in the description of each episode. They also ship worldwide. Thanks for supporting the show. Now, let's get started. Welcome, dear listener, to Deep Sleep Stories. Settle down now, wherever you are, and let the evening become gentle around you. Tonight's story will lead you through a little lavender alley in the soft hush of evening rain, where warm windows glow, cobblestones shine, and a quiet wanderer finds comfort in the small wonders hidden between ordinary walls. Let your shoulders soften. Let your hands rest. Let your breath come slowly, as if it too has been walking all day and has finally found a place to pause. Inhale and imagine the cool scent of rain drifting in through an open window. Exhale and let the day loosen its hold. There is nothing to solve here, nothing to carry, nothing to remember except the simple rhythm of breathing in and breathing out. Perhaps you can picture the alley already. It is narrow but not closed in. Its old stone walls lean kindly toward one another, sheltering pots of lavender that spill their silvery leaves over window ledges and doorsteps. The rain is light, almost thoughtful, tapping softly on shutters, gathering in tiny beads along iron railings, slipping down the stems of purple flowers. Lanterns glow beneath small awnings, and their golden light trembles in the puddles below. You do not have to follow every detail. You may let the story drift over you like rain on glass. And when you are ready, you may step gently back from the path, allowing someone else to walk it for you. There was, in a quiet part of an old hill town, a small alley that did not appear on most maps. It was not hidden by magic, at least not the sort of magic that announces itself with sparks or bells or silver doors. It was hidden in a gentler way. People passed the entrance often, carrying baskets of bread, parcels tied with string, folded umbrellas, or bundles of fresh herbs from the market square. They glanced toward it without quite seeing it. Their thoughts were usually elsewhere. On supper, on letters waiting at home, on the hour, on the weather, on the many little errands that make a day feel full. But the alley waited patiently. It began between a bakery with a blue-painted door and a bookbinder's shop whose windows were always crowded with paper stars. At first, it looked like no more than a narrow passage, paved with old cobblestones and shadowed by overhanging eaves. Yet those who entered with a quiet heart soon found that the passage opened into a long, winding lane filled with lavender. Lavender grew everywhere there. It rose from clay pots on steps. It leaned from balconies in soft, fragrant clusters. It filled narrow beds along the walls where the soil was dark and rich from years of rain. Some plants were tall and wild, with slender stems bending gracefully over the stones. Others were clipped into rounded bushes, their purple flowers held close like secrets. Even when the flowers were not in bloom, the alley kept their scent dry and sweet and clean, like linen folded in a sunlit room. In the evening rain, the scent deepened. It was not strong, it did not rush forward. It simply waited in the air, mingling with the smell of wet stone, warm bread, old wood, and distant chimney smoke. It was the kind of fragrance one noticed only after slowing down, and once noticed, it seemed to invite the whole body to rest. On this particular evening, the rain had begun just as the sun slipped behind the tiled roofs. It fell in thin silver lines, so soft that the puddles barely stirred. The sky above the town was the color of blue-gray silk, and the last light of day gathered in the clouds, as if reluctant to go. One by one, windows began to glow. The baker set a lamp beside the loaves cooling in the front room. The bookbinder pulled a chain, and a circle of amber light appeared over her work table. Somewhere beyond the square, a bell sounded gently, then faded into the rain. At the mouth of the lavender alley stood a young woman named Mara. She had come to the old hill town to mend a quiet tiredness, not a great sorrow and not a grand adventure, only the small weariness that can gather when many days have been too loud, too busy, and too full of other people's needs. She had no urgent destination that evening. Her satchel held only a wool scarf, a notebook, a small tin of lemon sweets, and a folded letter she had already read many times. Mara had been told by the woman who rented her a room above the tea shop that walking in the rain was good for heavy thoughts, provided the rain was gentle and the shoes were comfortable. So she had walked. She had followed the main street past the fountain, where rain made tiny rings in the basin. She had passed the flower seller's stall, now covered with canvas. She had crossed beneath an archway where swallows nested in summer. And then she had seen the narrow passage between the bakery and the bookbinder's shop. And for reasons she could not name, she had turned toward it. The alley received her quietly. The first thing Mara noticed was the sound. The town behind her did not disappear, but it softened at once. Wheels on the street became a distant murmur. Voices thinned into warmth. The rain, which had seemed scattered and airy in the square, found rhythm here. It touched the roofs, the leaves, the awnings, the window boxes, and the cobbles, each surface answering in its own small note. Drip from the eaves, whisper in the lavender, tick on the lantern glass. Mara drew her shawl closer and began to walk. The stones beneath her feet were uneven in a comforting way, each one smoothed by generations of footsteps. Rain gathered in the hollows between them, reflecting lamplight in little broken pieces. A black cat sat beneath a green door, its paws tucked beneath its chest, watching the rain with the solemn patience of someone who understood weather better than people did. The cat blinked at Mara. Mara blinked back. Then the cat rose, stretched, and slipped away through a gap in the lavender, leaving behind only the smallest tremble in the flowers. Farther along, a window stood open beneath a striped awning. From inside came the soft clink of cups and the low humming of someone preparing tea. Steam drifted outward and mingled with the rain. The window ledge was crowded with small jars, honey, dried chamomile, rose hips, tiny curls of orange peel, and sprigs of lavender tied with pale thread. A woman with silver hair looked up from her kettle and smiled, not in surprise, but as if she had expected Mara exactly when she arrived. "Evening rain," the woman said. Mara paused beneath the awning. "Yes, the kind that rinses the day clean." Mara smiled. "It feels that way." The woman lifted a little paper packet from the ledge and held it out. "Lavender and mint, for later." Mara accepted it with both hands. The paper was warm from the room inside. "Thank you." "No need to hurry," the woman said, returning to her kettle. "The alley is longer when one is tired and shorter when one is chasing something. So it is best not to chase." Mara thanked her again and continued on, carrying the small packet like a blessing. The alley curved left, then right, never sharply, always with the unhurried grace of a stream finding its way downhill. On either side, the houses seemed to grow closer together and kinder with each turn. Their walls were washed in colors softened by time: cream, sage, faded rose, pale blue, and a yellow like butter seen through morning light. Rain darkened the plaster in patches and made the ivy shine. Here and there, little doors opened from the alley into courtyards. Some were no wider than a cupboard, their handles polished bright. Others were arched and painted in quiet colors. Above one door hung a wooden sign carved with a moon and a spoon. Above another, a small brass bell shaped like a pear swayed in the breeze without making a sound. Mara did not knock on any doors. She felt no need to enter. The alley itself seemed room enough. As she walked, she began to notice small things that asked nothing from her. A snail traveling slowly along the base of a wall, its shell glistening like polished walnut. A row of rain droplets hanging from a lavender stem, each one holding upside-down lanterns. A forgotten blue ribbon tied to a railing, darkened by rain, but still bright at its edges. A puddle in the shape of a crescent moon. The longer Mara walked, the more her thoughts began to loosen. They did not vanish, for thoughts rarely do when asked directly. Instead, they became less sharp. They drifted apart like clouds spreading over the evening sky. The worries she had carried with her from the room above the tea shop no longer stood shoulder to shoulder. There was space between them now. Space enough for rain. Space enough for lavender. Space enough for the sound of her own breathing. The alley dipped gently, and the rainwater ran beside the curb in clear little streams. Tiny lavender petals floated there, turning slowly as they traveled. Mara followed them until they slipped beneath an iron grate, and then she lifted her eyes. Ahead, an old lamplighter was making his rounds. He wore a long coat the color of damp bark and carried a pole with a small flame protected by glass. At each lantern he paused, lifted the pole, touched the wick, and waited while the light woke. He did not rush from lamp to lamp. He stood for a moment beneath each one, watching until the flame steadied. Only then did he move on. When he reached the lantern nearest Mara, he tipped his hat. "Good evening," he said. "Good evening," Mara replied. "This one always takes a little longer," he said, looking up at the lantern. "It likes to think before shining." Mara laughed softly. The lamplighter smiled and touched the flame to the wick. For a breath, nothing happened. Then a small golden point appeared, no brighter than a firefly. It wavered, shrank, then grew, filling the glass with honey-colored light. The rain around it seemed to become visible all at once, each drop bright for a moment before vanishing into shadow. "There," he said. "Ready now?" Mara looked at the lantern and felt something in her chest settle. Not all at once, just a little, the way a bird might fold one wing, then the other. The lamplighter continued down the alley, his footsteps soft on the wet stones. One by one, the lamps behind him brightened. Their reflections stretched across the cobbles, gold and trembling, joining with the purple dusk. Mara walked on. At the next bend, the alley widened into a small square no larger than a sitting room. In its center stood a stone basin fed by a narrow spout shaped like a fish. Rain dimpled the water. The fish poured a clear thread from its open mouth, and around the basin grew more lavender, taller here than anywhere else in the alley. The plants formed a soft ring, their flowers bowing under the rain, their scent rising cool and calming. A bench waited beneath a chestnut tree. Mara sat. The tree's leaves spread above her like a green roof, catching most of the rain and letting only a few drops fall through. They landed on her shawl on the bench beside her on the toe of one boot. She listened. Somewhere nearby, someone played a stringed instrument very quietly. Not a song exactly, just a wandering line of notes, slow and spacious, with long pauses in between. The music seemed to come from a room above the square, though no window claimed it. Mara took the paper packet from her pocket and held it near her face. Lavender and mint. The scent was simple and kind. She thought of the letter in her satchel. She had carried it for many days. It was from her older sister who lived by the sea. The letter contained ordinary news. The garden doing well, the roof mended at last, the neighbor's dog learning to open gates, the tide bringing in a strange green bottle with no message inside, and near the end, in her sister's careful handwriting, were the words Mara had read again and again. Rest is not something you earn, little bird. Rest is where you return. Mara had understood the sentence when she read it, yet understanding and believing are not always the same. Some truths are like seeds. They need weather, they need darkness, they need time. Now sitting beneath the chestnut tree in the little lavender square, Mara felt the words again, softer than before. The rain did not ask the stones whether they deserved to be cooled. The lavender did not ask the evening whether it had done enough to be fragrant. The lanterns did not hurry to prove their light. They simply were what they were, and the alley held them all. A small sound came from the base of the bench. Mara looked down and saw the black cat again. It stepped from beneath the lavender, shook one paw with delicate annoyance, and leapt onto the bench beside her. Without waiting for invitation, it curled into a neat dark circle, leaving a respectful distance between them. "I thought you had gone home," Mara said. The cat closed its eyes. This seemed answer enough. They sat together for a while. Mara, the cat, the fountain, the rain, the hidden music, the breathing lavender. Nothing needed to happen. The evening opened like a hand. After a time, the rain softened even more. It did not stop, but it became fine as mist. The cat rose, stretched, and hopped down from the bench. It looked back once as if making sure Mara was following, then padded away along a smaller passage she had not noticed before. Mara stood and followed at a gentle distance. This new stretch of the alley was narrower but brighter. The houses leaned close overhead, connected by lines of laundry sheltered beneath wooden eaves. There were towels and napkins, a child's striped stockings, a white apron embroidered with blue flowers. They swayed slightly in the damp air. From one kitchen came the scent of soup, onions simmering with thyme and barley. From another, warm milk and nutmeg. Somewhere a clock ticked in a room with an open window. The cat moved steadily ahead, tail lifted like a question mark. At the end of the passage, the alley opened onto a tiny covered arcade. Its roof was made of glass panels framed in dark metal, and rain whispered over it in 1,000 delicate touches. Beneath the roof stood several small shops, all closed for the evening except one. The open shop had no sign. Its door was painted lavender gray, and a lamp burned in the window beside a bowl of smooth white stones. Shelves lined the walls inside, filled not with goods exactly, but with small, quiet objects. Folded blankets, beeswax candles, clay cups, tiny paintings of clouds, bundles of dried herbs, wooden boxes, shells, feathers, notebooks, and stones, with holes worn through their centers by water. Mara hesitated at the threshold. The cat slipped inside. A voice called gently, "Come in out of the rain, if you like." Mara entered. The shop smelled of cedar, lavender, and old paper. Its floorboards creaked softly beneath her feet. Behind a counter stood a man with kind eyes and a beard as white as milk. He was wrapping something in brown paper, folding each corner with great attention. "Your cat led me here," Mara said. The man looked down at the cat, who had already settled on a cushion near the stove. "Not my cat," he said. "No one in the alley owns her. She simply recommends places." "That seems useful." "Very useful, though she does not explain herself." Mara looked around the shop. "What do you sell?" The man considered the question. "Things that help people remember how quiet they can be." Mara smiled, but did not laugh. In that shop, among the candles and soft blankets and rain-touched windows, the answer seemed perfectly reasonable. She wandered slowly along the shelves. She touched nothing at first. Then, with one finger, she traced the edge of a small painting. It showed the alley in snow, lavender bushes silvered with frost, lanterns glowing in a blue winter dusk. Nearby lay a basket of smooth stones, each painted with a single word: hush, breathe, soften, return, dream. Mara picked up the stone that said return. It fit neatly in her palm, cool at first, then warmer. Its surface was so smooth that holding it felt like touching still water. "That one has been waiting," the man said. "For whom?" He tied string around the package on the counter. "Whoever noticed it." Mara held the stone a little longer. "How much is it?" "For that one, a promise to place it somewhere you will see it when you forget." Mara looked at him. "That is all? That is quite a lot some days." She nodded because she knew this was true. The man wrapped the stone in a square of soft cloth and handed it to her. Then he added a small candle, pale violet and scented faintly of lavender. "For the road," he said. "The road is only the alley." He smiled. "All roads are only something until one walks them." Mara thanked him and stepped back into the arcade. The cat remained by the stove and did not open its eyes when she left. Outside, the rain had thinned to a silver veil. The glass roof above the arcade glowed with the last of the evening, and the lanterns along the alley had become brighter now that the sky had darkened. Mara placed the wrapped stone and candle in her satchel beside the letter. The little packet of lavender and mint rested in her pocket. She continued walking. The alley now began to rise, not steeply, but enough that the rainwater ran past her in quiet threads. On the walls, the lavender grew from cracks and ledges, determined and graceful. Its flowers brushed her sleeve. Once she paused to lift a fallen stem from the stones and tuck it into a planter, where it rested among its kin. As the alley climbed, the town beyond began to appear in glimpses. Through a narrow gap between rooftops, Mara saw the valley below, mist gathering over fields. Through another, she saw the dark line of distant hills. The windows around her glowed warmly, each one a small world. In one, an old woman was reading beside a lamp, her lips moving slightly. In another, a child pressed both hands to the glass and watched the rain with round, sleepy eyes. In a third, a pair of hands kneaded dough, slow and steady, folding and pressing, folding and pressing. Mara felt herself breathing with those hands, slowly in, slowly out. The alley turned once more and became unexpectedly green. A wall on one side had vanished beneath climbing vines, and from the other spilled a garden no wider than a ribbon. Rain tapped on rosemary, sage, thyme, and lavender. Small white flowers shone in the dimness. A wooden gate stood open, and beyond it was a courtyard with a round table, 3 chairs, and a pear tree. Beneath the pear tree sat a young boy in a yellow raincoat, carefully arranging fallen leaves in a circle. He looked up as Mara passed. "I'm making a pond," he said. Mara paused at the gate. "A pond of leaves?" "For the moon," he explained as if this were obvious. "When it comes out, it will need somewhere to rest." Mara looked up. The clouds were still thick, but a pale brightness showed behind them. "That is thoughtful of you." He nodded seriously and returned to his work. Mara walked on, carrying the image with her. A pond made of leaves, waiting for the moon. There was something comforting in the idea that even the moon might need a place to rest. She imagined it lowering itself from the clouds, silver and tired, settling gently into the boy's careful circle. The thought made her smile. At last, the alley reached its highest point. There, it ended not in a street, as Mara had expected, but in a small terrace overlooking the town. A low stone wall ran along the edge, and beyond it the roofs stepped downward in layers, their tiles dark with rain. Chimneys breathed slow threads of smoke. Windows glowed here and there, golden and rose. The market square lay below, softened by mist, the fountain only a faint shimmer at its center. The rain was nearly gone now. Only a few drops fell from the eaves and leaves. The clouds parted just enough for the moon to appear, blurred and gentle like a lamp behind linen. Its light touched the wet stones of the terrace and turned them silver. It gathered on the lavender growing along the wall. It rested in the puddles, in the roof tiles, in the folds of Mara's shawl. She stood very still. The town seemed to breathe beneath her, not loudly, not even noticeably, unless one had become quiet enough to hear it. There was the sigh of rain gutters emptying, the distant closing of shutters, a low murmur from the bakery below, the soft breath of the valley, the hidden settling of houses that had stood through many seasons and expected to stand through many more. Mara leaned her elbows on the wall and looked out. She thought again of her sister's words. Rest is where you return. Perhaps return did not always mean going back to a place. Perhaps it could mean coming back to the body, to the breath, to the small truths that wait patiently beneath noise. Perhaps it could mean remembering the pace of rain, the kindness of lamplight, the company of a cat that belonged to no one, the wisdom of lavender, growing wherever it found a little soil. She reached into her satchel and took out the wrapped stone. She unfolded the cloth and held the stone in the moonlight. Return. The word looked softer now, almost silver. Mara held it against her chest for a moment, then tucked it safely away. She would place it on the windowsill in her room above the tea shop, where morning light would find it. And on the days when she forgot, she would see it there and remember the alley. Behind her, footsteps approached. It was the lamplighter, making his way back down from the upper lamps. His pole rested over one shoulder, and his coat was beaded with rain. "Found the terrace, did you?" he said. "Yes," Mara replied. "I didn't know it was here." Most people don't until they need the view. They stood together in companionable silence. Below, the town softened into night. The moon brightened a little behind the clouds. "Will I find the alley again?" Mara asked. The lamplighter looked amused, though kindly. "That depends." "On what?" "On whether you come looking for it or whether you come listening." Mara considered this. Then she nodded. The lamplighter tipped his hat and continued down the path. His lantern pole tapped softly, once against the stones, then disappeared around the curve. Mara remained a little longer. She did not try to hold the moment too tightly. She let it be exactly what it was: wet stone, lavender, moonlight, distant windows, the end of a gentle walk. Then she turned and began to make her way back down the alley. The return felt different, as returns often do. The same lamps glowed, but now they seemed familiar. The same walls leaned close, but now they seemed protective. The lavender brushed her hands, as if saying goodnight. The boys' leaf pond shone faintly in the courtyard, and though the moon had not fully come down to rest there, a little silver light had gathered inside it. The shop without a sign was closed now, its window lamp dimmed. The cat was nowhere to be seen, though Mara had the feeling she was nearby, watching from some dry and secret place. In the small square, the fountain murmured on. Mara paused beside the bench beneath the chestnut tree. The hidden music had ended. The water held the moon in trembling pieces. She placed one hand on the back of the bench, grateful for the quiet it had offered, then continued. Past the green door, past the lavender spilling from balconies, past the window where the silver-haired woman had given her the packet of tea. That window was closed now, but a little curl of steam fogged the glass from within. At the mouth of the alley, the town's main street waited. Softer than before, cleaner somehow, though perhaps it was only Mara who had changed. The bakery's blue door was shut, but the smell of bread remained. The bookbinder's paper stars glowed faintly in the window, turning with the movement of warm air inside. Mara looked back once. The lavender alley rested behind her, narrow and lamplit, full of rain and fragrance and secrets that did not need to be explained. She did not say goodbye aloud. Some places are better thanked in silence. Then she walked back to the tea shop. Her room above it was small, with a sloped ceiling and a round window overlooking the roofs. Rain tapped lightly on the glass as she entered. She lit the pale violet candle and set it on the table. Its flame opened slowly, just as the thoughtful lantern had done. She placed the smooth stone on the windowsill, where the word return faced inward. Then she warmed water in a little kettle and poured it over the lavender and mint. Steam rose. The room filled with the scent of the alley. Mara sat by the window wrapped in her shawl and watched the last rain move over the town. She did not write in her notebook. She did not reread the letter. She simply held the warm cup in both hands and let the evening finish itself. When the tea was gone, she blew out the candle. The room became blue and silver. Mara lay down beneath the quilt, and the bed received her kindly. Outside, water dripped from the roof in a slow, steady rhythm. Somewhere below, a door closed. Somewhere farther away, the town bell sounded, soft and low, then faded. She looked once at the stone on the sill. Return. Then her eyes grew heavy. The alley, the rain, the lavender, the lamplight, the cat, the fountain, the moon, resting in a pond of leaves, all of it drifted together, not as thoughts to be held, but as softness, as fragrance, as a path through evening. And so the town slept. The lavender slept in its pots and beds, silver leaves folded in the dark. The lanterns burned low and steady. The stones cooled beneath the last drops of rain. The little shops dreamed behind their doors. The fountain whispered to the moon. The black cat curled in a place no one knew, warm and dry and pleased with the night's work. Mara slept too, her breathing slow. In, out, and now the alley grows quiet for you as well. The rain becomes softer, the lights grow dimmer. The path no longer asks to be followed. You may rest, you may let every thought loosen, like a lavender petal released into a clear stream. You may sink gently into the dark, warm hush beneath the story, where nothing is needed and nothing is missing. The evening has held you. The rain has cooled the day. The lavender has remembered peace for you. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well.